I am back with day 2 of Ignite Your Power, and today I'm super excited to talk about this topic. Today we're talking about receiving the divine messages from your intuition. And I just love talking about this because this is what I work with my clients on, and this is what I'm so passionate about doing within myself, is continuing to connect deeper and deeper to my intuition and receive the messages from my higher self, from my soul, and from the universe. And that's really what it's all about, is being able to receive those messages, because we are all receiving messages from our intuition all the time, right? We're always receiving guidance. We're always receiving messages of what we should do next, or where we should go, or what the next step is. But not only do we not always listen to them, but we don't always trust them. And that's the thing that I really want to emphasize today. Hey, if you guys have questions, please ask. And also let me know what you feel like is the hardest thing about connecting to your intuition, so I can answer that for you. So put that in the comments. So like I was saying, the key to really being able to listen to your intuition and receive those messages is trusting it, right? Because we're always having like these little thoughts or these little inclinations, or just seeing something and being like, but we don't always trust the feeling that we're getting or trust the messages that we're getting. We think, oh, that's just a random thought, or oh, that doesn't really mean anything. But really, those seemingly random thoughts are usually something that you should listen to, because you're always receiving guidance all the time. It's just really about trusting it. And in the last year, I've gone through this kind of transition of really being able to understand and trust my own psychic ability. And as I look back on certain situations, there's so many times where I should have really trusted my feeling, trusted my intuition, and I didn't. And then later on, I realized that I was totally right. Okay, Lucia, I'm bipolar and never know when to trust my intuition or if I'm being impulsive. And that is something that is huge, right? Because we all struggle with different limitations or different beliefs or diagnosis that can make us question ourselves, right? And the number one thing I want to say about that is it's really important to create a space and time for you to connect with your intuition. So through meditation, my favorite way, through breath work, is a great way to receive those messages. So Lucia, if you start to, and I hope I'm saying your name right, if you start to create a space for yourself, a safe space through meditation or through breath work, where you know that whatever is coming through to you during that time, you know that you can trust it, right? And then you start to practice that and really be able to feel the difference between what is your intuition and what is just you being impulsive. It's nuanced, so you'll be able to start to feel it once you start to really practice it. And if you create a sacred space for yourself to listen to that, then you will start to be able to practice that and understand what it feels like more. So for me, I always hear things, and it was really hard for me to distinguish those from thoughts, right? Because I just think like I'm having these thoughts, but really I'm hearing these intuitive messages, and it took me a long time to like practice understanding what was an intuitive message and what was just a thought, because a lot of times they sound exactly the same, right? So the way that I always describe it is like, an intuitive hit usually doesn't have an emotion surrounded by it, right? So a lot of times if you have a thought, it might be surrounded by an emotion like worry or fear or even excitement. But sometimes for me, and actually all the time for me, if I'm having an intuitive hit, it really just comes and goes. Like there's no emotion attached to it. Because if it's your ego, which is not your intuition, it'll probably come as like a worry or a fear or some kind of anticipation about the future, right? That probably isn't your intuition. That's probably just a fear, or a worry, right? So that's a lot of times how I will tell the difference between what is just my thought or what is my intuition, right? So what is your intuition, right? I know we hear people talk about this all the time. What do I really mean by this? So I want to go into this a little bit. So your intuition is this deep part of you, this part of you that trusts completely, this part of you that always knows the answer, the part of you that always knows what is right for you and what you should do next, right? So there's this part of you deep inside, beyond all of the other stories you tell yourself, the beliefs you picked up in childhood, the beliefs you picked up from society about who you're supposed to be. Beyond all of that, there is this still place inside of you, this deep part of you that knows exactly what you should be doing, that knows what's next for you, that knows what your gifts are. And that is what your intuition is. It's this deeper part of yourself that always knows. And once you can access that regularly, you can draw on this part of yourself for guidance. You can draw on this part of yourself for messages about what to do next, right? And I have started to build this relationship with my intuition, and now I have a relationship with my spirit guides and my relatives that have passed away, and I draw on all of them for information about what I should do next, about what I should do in my business, about things with my family, my kids. So it's so important to develop this trust of your intuition and your inner knowing, and you can draw on that instead of asking a million people for what their opinion is about what you should do, right? Because half the time you end up more confused than you were before. And deep inside, you know what you really want to do. You just want to ask everyone else because you don't fully trust yourself. And a lot of times we get really wrapped up in seeking the approval from others rather than doing what is truly right for us. So that's one thing where you can't get caught up in worrying about what other people think when it comes to listening to your intuition. And this was a really big one for me because I am a huge people pleaser. I always wanted to do what other people wanted me to do to make them happy and to make them feel comfortable. And I know this is something that people can relate to. So pop in the comments if you do this too. But I was always a people pleaser. So I ignored my intuition and I ignored my divine gifts because I was afraid that they were going to make other people feel uncomfortable. So I would have intuitive hits about things, but I wouldn't listen to them because I put making other people comfortable above myself. And that is what I want to empower everyone to stop doing. Because as women, we tend to want to take care of everyone else before ourselves. And what ends up happening is no one gets properly taken care of. We must take care of ourselves first. Lindsay, exactly. I worry so much about others and others' thoughts. Yes. And this is a huge thing. And I love helping people with this. This is like one of the things I specialize in because I healed myself from this. So I know how to heal from this. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in worrying about what other people think, worrying about how other people are going to react to you. And it is really difficult to take yourself out of that. But the minute you start to prioritize yourself, you realize that everyone else kind of falls into place, right? And you may have people that disagree with you and you may make people uncomfortable. But part of the process of learning how to prioritize yourself is to say, you know what, that does make me feel uncomfortable, but I'm still going to put myself first. Because when you step into your divine gifts, when you step into your purpose, then everything else falls into place and people will start to support you because they see that you are doing what is aligned for your heart. And everyone around you starts to support you. And the people that don't support you and the people that do feel uncomfortable with that will fall out of your life naturally. Believe me, I've watched it happen for myself many times. So it's truly a process. But yeah, worrying about what other people think is a huge one. That was really big for me, and I still struggle with that, but it's an ongoing process of being able to put yourself first. So why is connecting with your intuition important? Like I said, that is where you're going to get the messages about what to do next, right? It's not about asking everybody out here. It's about listening to what you truly feel deep inside and accessing that place, that inner knowing, that part of you that always knows the answer, right? And one of the best ways to do this is through breath work. Meditation is also really great, but when you do breath work, you force yourself to be in the present moment. And when that happens, you let go of all of the stories that you created for yourself about who you are and what you're capable of, and you begin to connect with who you are in the present moment, minus all of those things that you thought about yourself. And when you do this, you start to connect with this world of infinite possibility, right? And then as you're staying present with yourself, you start to receive these messages. You start to receive the guidance from your intuition about what you should do. And it happens to me all the time. I've been breathing for 30 minutes every single morning. And what happens is I get all of these amazing creative ideas. I get all of these messages about what I should be doing next in my business because I'm allowing myself the space to listen. And that is the next really important thing that I want to talk about is how to connect with your intuition. So that's the first part. It's creating the space to connect with it. And we are always like, oh, well, I don't hear messages from my intuition, or how do I connect with my intuition? And you have to create the space to do that. So if you constantly like have the TV on, or you constantly are reading articles or listening to the news, if there's constant noise around you, you're not going to be able to hear those messages because there's too much other stuff going on. It's so important to create that space for yourself to receive those messages. So whether it is in the morning, and I like to do this first thing in the morning, I either do meditation or breath work or both right when I wake up. I don't even get out of bed. I just stay in bed and I do meditation and breath work and create the sacred space for myself to receive messages about where I should be headed, where I should go next. And then you have this sacred space for yourself, like I was talking about to Lucia. You have this space where you can now begin to connect with yourself and receive those messages. And if you have specific questions, ask them during this time and listen for the answers you receive. And this might take practice because we don't all receive answers in the same way, right? Like I was telling you, I hear messages like they were a thought, right? It almost sounds like a thought. Some people see images. Some people have feelings. Like these are the clairs, right? Like clairvoyant, clairaudient, I forget what they all are, but there's all different ways that we receive intuitive messages, right? So clairvoyance is like you see images. Clairaudient is you hear things. Clairsentient is like you feel things. So it's so important to practice this and create this space for yourself to practice it, because then you start to understand the best way that you receive messages. So for me, I hear things and I feel things usually. So that's why creating that space for yourself to do meditation and to do breath work is so important in being able to connect with your intuition. Now, the second part that's so important is trusting the messages you receive, because once you create your space for yourself and once you start to feel things or hear things, then all of a sudden you start to question them. And that's going to happen because it still happens to me. I had something happen yesterday with a client where I got an intuitive hit right when we started working together, and I didn't say anything because I didn't trust it. I thought it was weird. And then after her breathe, she told me something that had come up for her that was exactly what the thought was that I had in the beginning, but I didn't say anything because I didn't fully trust it. So it still happens to me, and it's an ongoing process of being able to sink in to trusting your intuition. So listening to those messages and really trusting them, and then taking action towards that. So if you have a feeling that you should be doing a certain thing, then listening to it, trusting it, and then taking action on it. So those are like the 3 keys to really being able to sink in and trust those messages that you're getting. Okay, so the other thing that I did is I pulled a card for you guys today about what we all need to know as a group. So if you're watching this on the replay, this is for you too, about what we all need to know as a group about how to more deeply connect with our intuition. What is blocking us from more deeply connecting with our intuition? And I love the card that came up because this is so perfect. So the card that came up is exchanging gifts. And what this is really telling you is that by trusting your intuition, connecting with it, and taking action on those answers, that is how you begin to uncover what your divine gifts are and share them with the world. So that's the first part of it, right? Because exchanging gifts is twofold. There's the receiving and there's the giving. So there's also the receiving part. So it's so important to allow yourself to get support around this, right? When it comes to healing and when it comes to going to the next level of change, you can't do it on your own, right? You need support from healers, from coaches, from people that are going to kind of inspire you and show you the way. And this is all about receiving support from other people, so accepting other people's gifts so that you can start to share your gifts with the world. So that's what this card is all about. And that brings us into what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, which is all about how to uncover your divine gifts and share them with the world. Because this is something I know a lot of you have been asking me about, especially when I come on and do readings, like, what am I supposed to be doing? Should I be moving forward in my business? And how do I connect with my gifts? So tomorrow I'm going to go more into that, and I'm going to talk to you guys about getting really clear about what your gifts are. But again, I'm going to go back to talking about breath work, because that is one of the best ways that you can begin to start to connect with your gifts and start to really uncover what that is and what you should be sharing with the world. So if you have questions about this, please let me know. And also, if you feel like you're aware of a block that you have around connecting to your intuition, I know that some people shared them already, but I know there's more people that came on. Please share it in the comments. Like, what is the hardest thing for you about really being able to connect with your intuition and receive those messages? So feel free to put those in the comments now. But I'm so glad to have come across your video a few weeks ago and being sent here. So I am listening. My mind is open. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that. And that is like the beginning of the process, right? Because healing and change is an ongoing process. And it's never over. Like yesterday, if you guys were with me, I was talking about like this 20-year long journey that I've been on of healing and transformation. And it's literally an ongoing process. So, Lucia. So I was talking, Lucia said, I don't understand the question. So what I was saying is, and you already answered it, Lucia, is what is most difficult for you about connecting with your intuition? Hi, Jenny. Or if you have a fear around that, but you already answered it. So that was all I was asking, was for the people who just came on to put that in the comments again. So anyway, yes. So just to kind of recap what I have been talking about today around connecting with your intuition, is first creating that sacred space for yourself, right? You're not going to receive intuitive messages if you have constant noise around you and you don't take the time to be silent with yourself. So that's number one. Number two is that you have to trust the messages that you're receiving. So create that sacred space, listen to the messages, ask your questions, trust the answers, and then take action on that. Lucia, I think that's it. I haven't healed and not willing to transform from an old life. Okay, so that's huge. So this is the time right now where we are being asked as a collective and on an individual level to let go of our old ways of thinking, our old ways of living, our old ways of being, and step into a new paradigm, step into a new level for ourselves, a new level of integrity around being aligned with who we really are, right? So it's no longer about doing what we think our family wants us to do or what society wants us to do. Now it's about honoring what your true gifts are and what you truly want that's aligned with your heart, and then taking action to do that and not worrying about what anyone else thinks, not worrying about disappointing anyone, and really beginning to step into alignment with who you really are and what you're truly wanting. So yes, Lucy, it's time to transform that old life, and it's time to step into the new and do what is really aligned for you. So Lindsay says, my anxiety tries to stop me. That is the blocker. The fear of the fear, a panic attack, and not making the right choice, being trapped and stuck. So being afraid of not making the right choice, Lindsay, you can always make a new choice, right? If you decide something and you realize it wasn't the right decision, you can make a new choice. You can make a new decision. You can always make a change, right? But your anxiety, that is because you are not allowing yourself to really feel your feelings. Anxiety is built up feelings that you haven't allowed yourself to fully feel, right? So what happens is we have these feelings and emotions, and instead of allowing ourselves to feel them, which is what I was talking about yesterday, we stuff them down and stuff them down and stuff them down. And what ends up happening is they just start living in our subconscious. They're stuck energetically in the body, and then they start to build up as anxiety. Because if you think about the feeling of anxiety, what that really is like this bubbling up of energy, right? It's like, where you feel really uncomfortable. It's your feelings that you haven't felt trying to come to the surface. Because all feelings want to do is be felt so that you can release them and integrate them, and that they're no longer living stuck in the body waiting for you to feel them. Hi, Hope. So if you have anxiety, it just means that you are being called to sink in and fully feel your feelings. And if you really want to go deep into that, breath work is so powerful for this. I can help you reduce your anxiety very quickly with breath work. And fear and anxiety are huge, right? We all struggle with this in some way, some more than others. And I hear you, Lucia and Lindsay. This is something that has really been a hindrance to you and something that is really hard for you, right? But I'm telling you, you can heal from it, you can change, and you can create a new life for yourself. I have seen people do it, and I've witnessed my clients heal from anxiety and create lives for themselves that are way more in alignment with who they are and what they really want. So I know it feels like it's overwhelming and it feels like you can't move forward, but you absolutely can. You just need support, and you need to learn the right tools to be able to deal with it and move forward, right? Because once you can get to the root of it and release it, then you can start to create a new story for yourself. You can start to create new space in your life to create a new story that's more in alignment with who you really are. Okay, so I hope that helps. So if you are someone that is really ready to make a transformation, to go through a metamorphosis, that is what I offer my clients. I offer you a radical metamorphosis where we go through all of the major blocks that hold people back. I guide you to release them through breath work and through different exercises that I have created that I know work. And then I help you align with your intuition, align with your divine gifts, and learn how to share them with the world. So if you are ready to make that transformation, if you're ready to invest time and energy into your growth, then please set up a call with me. I have a link above to set up your free transformation call for those of you who are really ready to take that leap, okay? Yes. So I am so happy to have been with you today and shared this. Thank you so much for sharing with me. And I can't wait to connect with you more. I am going to be on tomorrow talking about uncovering your divine gifts. So definitely tune in then too. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.